Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. This is Big Baby Reviews. Welcome to another comics haul. Check out my comics, Big Baby and Star Crasher at KingComics.CA. Check out my videos on YouTube. King Comics 2021 is the channel. Instagram, Maximus Rex 13, and check me out on Facebook, Max Rex and or Big Baby. As I mentioned, this is another comics haul, so we're going to be looking at basically my last visit to out of my many numerous visits, obviously, to Mark the Comic Hunter here in Montreal. I've mentioned the shop a few times. Most of my comics hauls, I think, at least up to now, have been from Mark's place. So always gonna promote him, and let's get started right away with the first comic. And to point out as well, Mark at comichunter.com if ever you're interested. It's a huge store in a huge industrial building, got tons of stuff. It's insane the amount of stuff that's in there. So why did I buy this one here for $3? I thought it was a pretty good deal. You always want to look at the cover price, right? Originally it was $2.75, an extra quarter, right? Not a big difference. And this is just a comic, a one-shot Legends of the Dark Knight story I remember as a kid. I had, and I've lost that issue, so, you know, just kind of a fond memory of this issue and these weird kind of different interpretations of Batman that we're getting that are super fun. So just a fun comic with various different artists doing different interpretations of Batman. Kind of like Batman Black and White, which I reviewed recently, only this in color. Next, we have got Preacher number 50. It's not the last issue of the series, but it's kind of an, you know, anniversary issue, usually 25, 50, 75, or they do something kind of special. So this one was 48 pages, you know, more pages than usual. And there's a special pinup gallery, which I do think are included. If I remember correctly, all these pinups are included in the trade paperback as well, because I do own the whole Preacher series trade paperback format. I will review those at some point. One of my favorite series ever, writing wise, you know, not so specifically art wise, although the art is fine and not too shabby as far as covers go, in the interiors by Steve Dillon, Glenn Fabry doing the painted covers. But yeah, Preacher is definitely something I'm going to cover because of story. I think it's got a great storyline, and I like how the writer kind of uses what's a somewhat mainstream comic, I guess, with Preacher, because it is being published by DC, but Vertigo specifically for mature readers. He just uses it as a kind of a way to voice his opinions on the world and on certain subjects that I think is fun, interesting, and kind of hilarious. I actually discovered Bill Hicks, the stand-up comedian, who unfortunately died, I think, in 1993. Back in the day, he was 33 years old. He's pretty young, but actually discovered and, you know, a bit of a story through one of the issues of Preacher that introduces you to him. You know, Preacher's kind of down and out and drinking in a bar, and it just so happens that Bill Hicks is a stand-up comedian there. And you know, it was a very kind of interesting moment, because, you know, you're reading a comic book, and then I kind of had a sense when I was reading that part of it, I'm like, I feel like this is not a made-up person. This seems like someone who probably actually existed, and that's kind of what eventually led me to going on YouTube and stuff, and years later, from when I originally read it, and looking up Bill Hicks and really enjoying his brand of comedy, which is I guess maybe just too ahead of its time back in the 80s and 90s, but definitely a comedic genius, I think. Anyways, if you don't know about him, check him out. So yeah, Preacher taught me, and I learned a lot of interesting things about the world through Preacher. Next, we're going to look at Heavy Liquid. Just, I really do enjoy Paul Pope. If I'm not mistaken, this is some of his earlier stuff that's been kind of republished by DC Vertigo. And at first I was like, $8, man. But then you look at the cover price once again. This was originally $9.25 Canadian when it came out. And I'm not quite sure when this came out, but early 2000s, maybe 2010. I don't know for sure. So I thought it was a pretty good steal there, even though they're not 100% pristine condition, as you can see here, but whatever. They're definitely great reader copies, so I have no problem with it. Actually, discounted from the cover price, I'll take it. All right, what do we got next? Oh, this is interesting. Didn't know this existed. This is more, I'll actually show you guys real quick, but what this is, it's in French. Oops, caught the camera there. Apologies. Back on track. So what this is basically kind of a documenting of, it's in French, but what it says is Protectors of the North, the national superhero in Canadian comic books. For sure there's got to be an English version of this too, but I found the French version, right? We're in Quebec, and this was in the dollar bin. This was a dollar bin find for, you know, I'm going to say it, for $1. And yeah, it's kind of a documenting of all kind of the history of the Canadian superhero. So I'm I had ideas in the past. I've done a few sketchbook, kind of a bit of sketchbook work on this idea or concept I have for using old, you know, Canadian superheroes who are now in public domain, and kind of creating a modern twist on it or whatever. Didn't really get past kind of the embryonic phase of just designs and basic ideas and stuff for how they'd be, you know, brought into modern times or maybe in the future or something. I don't know for sure. But this might help fuel a little bit of the research I need to do behind all that. Is that John Byrne right there? Jim Craig. Pretty John Byrne-ish in his art style, but I mean, it looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna have fun going through this one, and I imagine at some point I'll do an actual review of it. Captain Canuck obviously is in there. If you know any Canadian superhero, that's probably the one you know. He's been revamped a bunch of times. They try stuff. Captain Canada here, who's like, I guess, a parody of Captain Canuck, or the idea of a national superhero, or a Canadian national superhero. Pretty underground looking. Pretty fun looking, actually. Bit of a Von Baudet kind of thing going on here. Stanley Bernesh. Yeah, very, very Von Baudet. Pretty good, though. Captain Quebec. That's one that's more known here in the French-Canadian province of Canada, in Quebec. Anyways, I'll get to a review of that at some point. It seems interesting. At least to some of my Canadian viewers, maybe. All right, so just move this out of the way. Start a new stack. These are just fun. If you don't live in Quebec, you've never probably seen these. These were kind of like cheap reprints they would do here in French, so they would change the copy and stuff and the lettering on the inside. The comics are black and white; they're not even color. And I feel like these covers, it's so fun to see, like, you know, second, third generation copies, I guess, being used for print. That's what it looks. It's so blurry. That's not like a trick of the camera or anything. It is actually slightly blurry, you know, maybe a photocopy of the artwork in black and white, and then I think it got colored here because it looks like, you know, old school markers have been used, and it's just, yeah, there's a certain kind of vintage amateur charm to these Quebec French reprints of like Jack Kirby, Captain America. So I got 2 of these, and these were in the dollar bin, so you probably recognize this very iconic cover, inked by John Romita Sr. Over Jack Kirby. And yeah, if you know it, you can tell that right here, everything is so damn blurry. It's hard to make out, you know. It's just, the print condition is horrible, but whatever. Hilarious to me. And it is fun on the inside to have, you know, these are early artisan editions of Jack Kirby art in black and white. I guess I should show you at least one since I'm talking about it. And I'll probably do at some point a review of, I have a few of these. I have a Fantastic Four, I think, and, you know, so maybe gather those up together and do a review of just those. And it's funny because in here, well, these are 70s reprints of 70s Captain America, right? With the Falcon and stuff. Yeah, like, you can see how, even on the inside, it's not the best printing, but it's a rare glimpse, I think, in the 70s, maybe early 80s of Jack Kirby art in black and white, right? In a weird way, because this was like a international edition or French edition or whatever you want to call it, Quebec edition. And for obviously cost-saving purposes, they printed it in black and white, but again, it's like an early kind of artisan's edition and a rare glimpse back in the day that you could get at Jack Kirby's black and white art. You know, if you were just American or Canadian Anglophone and just buying, you know, the regular comics, I don't know of any English editions, reprints, or of any of that early Marvel stuff that's actually black and white. I guess this was the backup story in the original, or they threw that in there. I'm not quite sure. I can't imagine that would be in the Captain America comic in the 70s. So that gives you a glimpse. Like I said, review definitely to come, right? A lot of this stuff is stuff I'm interested in, but also stuff that, because I'm interested in, I will be doing reviews of course, right? It's a little self-serving. That's how it goes. The Mighty Thor starring in Marvel Spectacular, signed by David, which I for sure ups the value of this quite a bit. Red sticker means dollar bin find. I'm not quite sure which issue of Thor this reprints, but I am trying to get my hands on if not the originals, at least reprint copies of his Thor run. That's kind of what I'm working on now. And Fantastic Four, slowly but surely. You know, as I move further back in time, obviously it's harder and harder. The 70s stuff, I'm almost there, but Thor and Fantastic Four are kind of two series that I'm once I close up, you know, Eternals and some of the 70s stuff that I'm almost done. That's what I'm going to be focusing on, collecting wise, right, or hunting wise, I guess. To find these in the dollar bin, I didn't own them before, so why not $1, where this is originally in the early 90s was $4.85. God damn. So, you know, this will just extend my run of Rob Liefeld reviews. I was nearing the end kind of the comics that I do have. So if I find interesting stuff by Rob Liefeld, I'll keep adding to it and stretching it out, even though they're not in sequence anymore. So I found issue 7 as well for $1. I will, you know, if I continue to find interesting Rob Liefeld stuff, eventually, sporadically, I'll still be covering it for sure. So this is an interesting find. Didn't know this existed till maybe a couple days, maybe a week ago. I don't remember exactly where I read about this, but Pitt and a Half. It's basically a reprint of Pitt's original appearance as a flip book kind of introduction, 4 to 6 pages, I think, story in Youngblood number 4 originally is where it was, and it was on newsprint, and the colors were kind of murky and stuff, and it was kind of cool. But clearly, I guess Kean didn't, or there was a clamoring for it. I guess people wanted it since they didn't. Maybe some people didn't want to have to buy Youngblood to get it. I don't know, but yeah. So reprinted here with an extra backup story of the werewolf character from the Pitt series, and I'll do a review of this at some point too. Once I fix all the problems I've had with my review with issues 6 and 7 of Pitt, which I'm doing right after this video, if you know what I'm talking about. All right, what is left? Okay, here we go. So lucky enough to find this, because I've really been into martial law recently, ever since I discovered the martial law Hellraiser crossover, which I have reviewed here, so check that out if you want. It's in the archives. And I just really enjoy martial law. I enjoy the writing, I enjoy the storylines, I enjoy the color work, and I enjoy the artwork as well by Kevin O'Neill. And cool thing about this cover here, going to plug my buddy Mark, who came over yesterday. We were looking at this comic. Mark he has a company called Earth AD Comics, which you can look up, obviously Google that, and he does a parody series about Trump, which is actually called Trumpf, you know, obviously for copyright purposes and all that. But yeah, very interesting series that Mark does, and I'm plugging it here, so check out Earth AD and Trump Comics. He's also got a Misfit series, if you're into that kind of music and that band that he did prior to his Trump series, which is just finished up 4-issue miniseries. Last issue is, I think, 56 pages, he told me. So yeah, good on Mark. Great job, buddy. And congratulations on finishing your miniseries. What we were noticing, though, getting back to that, is, you know, at first glance, I had the same kind of thing. He pointed it out eventually, but like I just kind of saw almost like martial law dressed as kind of Superman somewhat, right? Not paying too much attention. But then Mark was looking at it and he's like, wow, man, hang on a second. And he's like, you know, maybe you guys have already seen it, but it's not actually, you know, martial law in a Superman suit. It's actually him with guns, you know, having blown through the body of a Superman type character, right? So the head's gone, obviously, and replaced by martial laws in the background there. So clever composition, clever layout, and it might take a second or two to figure it out. You don't see it right away. Just a great cover. So another good example of why you should be into martial law. So this one was originally $6, $8 I thought was a pretty decent price. This is a thick one, probably like 50-60 pages, I think, the story in here, at least 48. So I thought it was a good deal, and I'm trying to get all the martial law stuff also all together, so eventually I can do a run of reviews of all the martial law stuff. I've already done the martial law Hellraiser. Check that out. I said it already, but I'll remind you again. Mills O'Neill on martial law. Once again, Kingdom of the Blind. Not exactly sure where this fits, but again, the original cover price was $6 US and $7.25 Canadian. It's $6. It's less than the actual cover price from way back when. So great looking shot here. Good example of Kevin O'Neill's great artwork. The detail, but it's clear. Even with these dark colors and stuff, it's still a very striking cover. Yeah, so really into martial law. If you don't know about martial law, if you're into like Watchmen and The Boys and Brat Pack and superhero revisionism and superheroes as kind of just mentally flawed, morally flawed people, mentally flawed people who actually will do bad things, right? So this it always seems to come from the British guys, right? That kind of concept, because you know, we were talking yesterday about this with my buddy Mark once again. It's like that cynical kind of British view of superheroes is definitely what you get here, but which is interesting, right? And always fun and entertaining, especially with martial law. And again, this predates The Boys and Brat Pack by a few years at least. Brat Pack. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're into that kind of stuff. And pretty good deals all around, some dollar bin finds, and I'll allow myself what I kind of consider a splurge once in a while. So I'm trying to finish up that Spawn run. I've got 3 more issues left. Now I have 2 more issues left, and my Spawn run is I'm trying to finish up 1 to 100. Now, right now, all I have left to find is 77 and 99, I believe. But this was the 3rd one I was missing, and it had been there on prior visits. I had seen that Comic Hunter had this issue for $20, and I was like, maybe I'd splurged on something like a $15 Kirby issue or something in those last few visits, and didn't pick this one up. But this time I went, it was still there. And since I'd gotten good deals on the other stuff, mostly dollar bins and lower priced comics, I figured, what the hey, it's still there. I'm going to splurge for it. So finally picked up Spawn 95 for $20 at markcomichunter.com. So there you go, guys. That's the end of my comics haul for today. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. If you're still subscribed, thank you so much for your support. If you are not, please do so below. It's really quick for you. Helps the channel, helps us grow, helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books. So thanks again for watching, and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.